Hello everybody, this is Kika. I'm gonna make a slightly different video than usual today. I want to go into how you play z-barb. So this video will be about z-barb obviously, but it won't be about overall z-barbing. So overall z-barbing is what I would say, like how you make spots, where you decide to stop, when you decide to go. Like keeping the buffs up, where to find pylons, when to click pylons. To me, this is pretty much well known, and if it's not well known, well, you will eventually learn all of this through osmosis by playing z-barb yourself. And seeing what works, what doesn't work. But one thing is harder to learn just by playing yourself is, maybe how you make big flips, small flips, how to manage your flips, manage your stomps, where to stomp, when to stomp, things like that. So this won't be, as you can see, I'm playing in non-season right now. This is not about playing season 25. Like, this is something that is always true, whatever the season you're playing in. And that's why I really want to make sure everybody knows all of this stuff. Well, everybody, I don't really care, but I don't want to, let's say, pollute your mind with some season-focused stuff. Because z-barb has been a staple of the game for a long time. First with just rage flip, and then when Shui introduced wrenching smash, ground stomp into the z-barb arsenal back in season 16. And it will probably, unless one of these two skills gets nerfed, it will stay 100% in all the 4-player groups, because it's just so good, and the reason it's good is rage flip. So the first thing I'm gonna do is tell you a little bit about the rage flip mechanics. So I have a secondary account here, which is just standing in PvP, so that I can show you a couple things. So the first thing you need to know about rage flip is, well, it rage flips, right? So what it does is it moves an elite or any amount of mobs from one place to another, and what it does exactly is it flips its position with regards to you from a point slightly in front of you. So if you're like here, he would get there basically, because you flip from here to here. The distance from here to here is the same as the distance from here to here. So this is not gonna work though, because there's a wall in the way. But if I did it from maybe here, probably could get it behind me, as you can see. From here to here to here, that's basically how it works. As I just said, one of the limitations of a rage flip is it cannot flip through walls or through anything that the mob cannot go through. So it can be a wall, but it can also be a gap, like here. This is not a wall, but I wouldn't be able to flip a mob through this river, even though there's no obstacle to say, it's just a river, an empty space. So, okay. However, you can go through these tombs, so it can go through. You cannot go through this little bush, so he will get stopped on the bush. This is important, so obviously this works for this, and this is quite obvious, but if an elite is stuck against a wall, sometimes you would think, oh, well, this flip's gonna work, and you try it, and it doesn't work because it's slightly, like this thing, command should work, there's nothing in the way. Well, you do it and it doesn't work. So you get annoyed, and then the mob gets CC immune, and that's not a good thing. So I'm gonna teach you about how to deal with this a little bit later. First though, I want to mention a couple things. So you need to learn, like as I'm saying, as a barb, you are trying to make pulls, and usually trying to pull from, for example, one corner of the wood to another corner of the woods. And to do that, you need to do it as fast as possible. And to do it as fast as possible, you really want to minimize the amount of time the mob gets standing doing nothing like this. And to do that, you want to flip mobs as far as possible in a single flip, which is why you want to flip mobs from as far as possible. So like if you do it like this, as you can see, I don't reach. But one way you can do to get to the perfect spot is you each inch a little bit closer every time until, as you can see, he was off screen, but I knew he was there. So I landed the hit, and now he's super far away on the other side, which is exactly what you want. So one thing you need to do as a barb is you need to learn the maximum range of your flip to make sure you always hit the highest, the farthest distance move as possible. So yeah, as a barb, really learn how far you can flip. I think that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing you need to do is understanding how far a mob will move when you flip. So obviously if you do a max range, it will go as far as you can, as you want it to go, like as far as it can go. But maybe you don't want to make a max range for a couple of reasons. And then you need to learn that if I pull from here, he will be around here, you know, and you do it here. And, you know, he wasn't exactly where I said, but it's close enough. It depends on mob hitboxes, things like that. It's hard to know, so you need to practice. The more you practice, the better you will get at estimating distances. The reason you want to do this is going back to what I was saying about mobs getting stuck, is if a mob gets stuck like this and you want to go to pull it here and you can't because it's stuck, what you should be doing instead is a small flip here, like this, and then a big flip like this, and then you can easily pull it wherever you want it to be. So this is a very important, really important, I cannot emphasize this enough. It's a really important part of being a good z-barb, is knowing how to make the small pulls to then make the big pulls, instead of getting stuck in the idea of a single pull and not being able to make it because it's not in the right position for it. Obviously here it's pretty obvious that you can just bloop and then you go here and bloop. However, if a mob is stuck in the door, for example, it's here, it might not be as obvious, but the way you do it is not actually by... it's a bit hard to explain, because players are very, very easy to pull and they have small hitboxes. But if you're here, let's say you're in the door and you're trying to do this, he gets stuck. What you actually want to do is you want to pull it so that it gets an easy access to the door. So for example, you want to pull it from there, and then you can bloop, and then bloop, and then he's in the door, as you can see, easy. And then once the mob is in the door, because he's a mob, he will get aggroed and he will actually come to you. So this is another important part and really key part of playing z-barb, is you don't necessarily need to pull the mob right in front of the pixel, usually, because it's usually a pixel that you're gonna make, as long as it's within one screen of distance. So for example, if a mob is here and then there's a fight going here, you don't really need to like go out of your way to do this. You can just let the mob be like, oh, there's a fight here, and then he will instinctively come and try to kill all the players that are here. Okay, let me pull up my notes. So it's floor, close, mixing it in. So yeah, you do a small one and then you do a big one sometimes to make mobs go through a corner. Yes. The second part of all of this is crowd control immunity. So crowd control immunity kicks in after 2 flips. So if you do 1 flip and then another flip, no, I cannot flip another time. So you have to wait a little bit in order to for the crowd control immunity to recede, and then you can pull it again. So what you can do is you can do this, and then you charge, and then you actually can do a second one. And well, right now I'm not wearing my record set, but if you're wearing record, usually it doesn't work. It still works. So that's one thing you can do. Charging and then doing a second pull like this, but then you cannot do. So what do you do when a mob is CC immune? So you let it walk, as I was saying, but the flow of the z-barb is, and like the flow of group gameplay usually is, you go into a corner where you haven't been before, so that you can pull from the previous corner you were in, and then after the crowd control immunity kicks in, you can actually charge and go to the next corner, and then you can pull from that new corner into the first corner, and then crowd control immunity from that spot kicks in, and then you go back to the first spot where crowd control immunity has subsided, pull more, and do it like this, and this is where you eventually get all the mobs from 2 corridors, or I don't know if you can call it a corridor in the woods, but from 2 sides of a corner in a single spot. And obviously if it's a T-shape crossroad instead of just a corner, you have 3 sides to pull, so you get more mobs, but it's also, you need to also be a bit faster, because you know, at the end of the day you really don't want mobs to just idle when they are not control immune. It's hard to say, which is why Barb really focus on attack speed, because they want to be everywhere at the same time. And it's also why z-barb is hard to pull, because you need to manage all the crowd control from all the sides at the same time to try and pull all the mobs as fast as possible inside the spot where you want them to be. And this is also why you really don't want your DPS to well, hopefully your DPS don't just say, oh, there's nothing here, so I'm going, because what you want to do is stay maybe in an empty spot, and then pull everything in on an easy to pull to empty spot, rather than going to a spot that is more crowded, but then you cannot get everything in because it's too far away. Okay, so I think that's all about the flips. One thing I need to mention is once everything is within a reasonable range from the main damage dealing point, let's say, you can use the flip to continue flipping mobs and elites inside the actual pixel. But what you usually do is, when a mob is standing like this, you go, oh, okay, well, my spot is here and my elite is here, so instead of trying to move this to here, I just go boom, and everything will go with the pixel to wherever you just pixeled. So this is where the pixel comes in. It was a really bad segue, but I needed to make it because it was in my notes, which is stupid. Now I'm gonna open a greater rift just to show you a bit more about pixels. Oh, I need to leave with my over character. Okay. Perfect. That's one of the hardest mob type to pixel, so it's gonna be a really fun one to show. So okay, let's say you have all of the mobs here, which is about the true here. There's barely anything. It's fine. There are three main ways to pixel mobs. Main way number one, and what most players will do, is they go in and they pixel. And as you can see when you do that, is it really a pixel? No, not really. So it can work. If it's a good mob type, it definitely will work, for example on swarms. But most of the time the pixel does not work, and you end up with something that is a bit more tightly packed than just a random like mobs get aggroed back, but not good enough to be blasted with area damage. So the second way you make a pixel is instead of doing it right in the middle, you go a bit out, for example here, and then boom, and then as you can see here, the mobs are much tightly packed, and this is actually a pixel. The problem with doing it that way is that you can also see that there are mobs outside of the pack that are not pulled at all. And that can be an issue, and well, it can be an issue because obviously they will hit you. Well, they don't die, but it's also an issue because they can still hit you, for example. And it's mostly an issue if the mobs that are not pixeled are the elites, and because you really want to, like, your goal as a barb is to pixel the elites more than anything. So the third way to make a pixel, and in my opinion the best way, but also the hardest, arguably, is to find an opening from within the pack and then pixel inside that opening. But how do you find an opening inside a pack? Well, you actually make it with your flip like this, and then you can make a pixel like this. And as you can see, we have a big pixel, almost everything is in, and it was exactly where you wanted it to be. So this pixel is a bit small, so I'm gonna try to find something with a bit more mobs so that I can show it to you better. Hello mobs, let's go. And you can see how I'm putting this, what I was saying about rage flipping into action by every time going on one side. We don't see the minimap, but I'm going on this side, then up, then here, then back, up, until everything here is in. So here we have a big pixel, and if I do it like this, it doesn't work. I have to wait a little bit because mobs get CC immune, and I don't want that. If I do it just randomly, like here it worked because there was an empty space, but it's still not great because the yellow was not in. So, and the last thing you can do, and what I recommend is, oh fuck, I missed, is first not miss, and then you do it like this. Hopefully you don't get wormholed, like this. And then, okay, it's a bit difficult as you can see, but eventually you might be able to do it so that the yellow is inside all the pixel mobs. And this is the best way to like do the max amount of damage to the yellow. And obviously here, this is a very hard to pixel mob type, so I'm having trouble because Bogans, they really don't work well with rage flip and pixeling. But some other map type get pixel really easily. So for example, this one, zombies are very easy to pixel. on the other hand, phase beasts aren't, and this is one of the difficulty of. Oh, this is a perfect pack to show it. I hate myself sometimes. Okay, so here, if you want to pull everything in a single spot, you have to choose your spot. Where do you choose the spot? Well, you choose the spot where the hardest elite to come to pull is. And right now the hardest elite to pixel and pull is this one. Even though it went through the door, it will easily get stuck on mobs. And there was no real mobs near the door. Like, there's nothing here, as you can see. Which is why he could go through. But then if you're trying to actually pull it on that side, unless it teleports, he will just stay there, and that's not good. On the other hand, pulling a mod like this to that side is not too hard, because you can do it like this, and then you can, it's shielding right now, but you can pull it that way, and then, you know, it will come eventually. So this is all about experience, but now you can see all my elites are here, and I need to make a pixel, but it's hard because the spot is too small. So you need to, like, for, like, while all of this is going on, your DPS are usually trying to kill stuff, but you can ask them to go, okay, come here, please, and then the mobs will follow. And then here is an easier to stomp in spot. You can try to, you know, do something like this and this. And okay, mobs are a bit tightly packed. You can go on the outside and do it. And as you can see, it works, but then the elites are not in. So it's all a balancing act of whether you want to kill that elite first, this elite first, or just the trash. But this is really the way to get the most of your ground stomp. The last thing I want to say about ground stomp, and I said I wouldn't go too into details about like current season builds and stuff like that, but I still think it's a key part of the z-barb gameplay, is when you want to stomp. Because you're not alone in this group. Obviously, you're a support barb, you have at least one more DPS, sometimes even more. And because of that, you want to do your pixel, because the pixel also, you probably know, but it also stuns. Most builds rely on CC, crowd control, to deal damage. So for example, on Necro you have Crispin, which doubles your damage and quadruples your damage while the Crispin effect is active. On Crusader you have Bracers of Fury. Maybe on another Crusader build, there's in season 25 we have the gem, which is called, I don't remember, Remnant of Pain, which gives 100% crit chance against mobs that are stunned, incapacitated. And usually you want to do that exactly during your damage dealer COE cycle. In this case, as you can see, there is a COE. So you need to do the stomp exactly during the COE. So you need to precisely go, okay, well, this is when I need to do it, and you do it. So that's why it's also important to be able to do your pixel wherever you want, whenever you want. And this is why I really recommend doing this pull out with rage flip into pull in with pixel, with the stomp, because this is the easiest way to pixel mobs both wherever you want and whenever you want, in order to maximize your DPS, your damage dealer DPS. And this is also doubly important because for your damage dealer, they don't really want to have to guess, oh, where's the pixel gonna be? Is it gonna be on the right? Is it gonna be on the left? I don't know. Like, usually what you want to do is pixel in the middle, because that's where everything is already is. And where the damage dealer will say, okay, well, everything is here, so I'm gonna do my damage here. If you're on Discord, or if you really know your DPS well, you can go, okay, well, I'm gonna make a pixel here, for example. So you do a flag, and this is when you can try to do it. This is a really hard spot for me, so I can't really showcase anything, sadly. Let me try to move to somewhere it is more well suited to making big pixels. Perfect. Yeah, this is a very easy mob type as well, so I can show a bit more. And I also get to show how to work with range elites inside the pack. Yeah, this is great. This is great. Okay. We get everything in, so it's actually relevant and not just a case-by-case basis. Yellow archers like this one really don't like to stay inside the pack. And even pulling them inside the pack is really difficult. So what you really want to do here is actually make a little space here. As you can see, there is, well, you can see here, but now there was a little empty space after this flip, where you can make a big pixel here, as you can see, where everything is in. And it's very easy when you're on Discord to say, okay, I'm gonna pixel on this yellow, so you pull near the yellow, you do the pixel. It's a really nice beacon for everybody. No, okay, this is the yellow that is gonna pixel, so here I would say I'm gonna pixel on the archer, for example, and I do it. Everybody is happy because they know exactly where it's gonna be, what's gonna happen. And this is why flip stomp is really, really strong, because otherwise what ends up happening is maybe oh, I don't know where I'm gonna pixel, I do it here, and sure, like yellow is not here, but the pixel is super dense, that's great, but if you don't hit the yellow, it might as well not be a pixel whatsoever. So yeah, I think that's about it for how to pixel. Pixel with stomp. Sorry, pixel with a rage flip. Don't forget, while you do all of this, you, as a z-barb, always need to keep an eye out on pylons. You also have to be scouting everywhere to pull more mobs. And this is most of the reason why, when asked, like, what's the hardest build to play in a group, people say, well, it's the z-barb. And really, z-barb is not too hard to play. Once you know what you're doing, you know, like, okay, well, I know that if I want to put this yellow here, I need to not get bumped, but I need to do it like this. So now he's well aligned, and then I can do it like that. And he's CC immune, so he can come. But now he's in, and as you can see, it wasn't too difficult. You know, it was a couple of flips, and everything is in. But if you don't know how to do it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I want to pull it here, and you start doing it like this, like, why is it not working? And then everything gets CC'd, and you try to do a pixel, but half of the mobs are CC'd, so pixel looks like nothing. It's not gonna work. So again, if you know what you're doing, it's a fairly straightforward job. It's when it's your COE, like it's COE time for your DPS, you go like this, pixel, give a buff, you can go back behind, say, oh, okay, there's more mobs to pull, poof, I pull mobs, oh, it's time to pixel again, I come in, I try to be careful not to CC the mobs with the charge, I go like this, boom, you know, it's like, it's always the same for me. I always come in, I pull, I pixel. There are two spots. This spot is like rip mobs because I had to sacrifice a few mobs to make a big pixel, but on the other hand, with a big pixel, everything dies. And this small lump of mobs that didn't die, it's like, okay, well, we miss 1% trash because of this technique, sure. But on the other hand, in one big stomp, I managed to kill everything in a single rotation, and then you can easily go next map and keep on doing it. And same again, pull, pull. Okay, wipe to a pixel, probably here. Like everything almost is here. You can kill everything. Oh, go to the next stomp. You see this, you say, oh, okay, that's one of the harder mob to pull. So you pull it, and you. Oh, that's great. I can showcase a lot here. This one is a jugger, so obviously if it's a jug, you're not happy, because you cannot move them with a stomp. So what you do is you get mobs close by. And one thing I want to show, if I can, is the sometimes the yellow, they don't cooperate. Right now it's a bit hard to show because they are cooperating. Okay, let's say this is what is my this yellow is doing wonderful here. Well, maybe if I get more mobs in. Okay, can I? No, as you can see, I cannot pull like this yellow inside. So this is not great. When that happens, what you want to do is actually pull the yellow a bit out, and then you can pixel right on the yellow. And this is one of the way you can make sure mobs are surrounded when you pixel and when you make spots. Okay. I think I said everything that I wanted to say about how to play Barb. I hope you learned a couple things, maybe. Maybe you already knew about everything, but didn't necessarily use all of these inside when you were while playing Barb. So I don't know. Maybe it will broaden your horizons, something like that. Otherwise, well, I'm sorry. I'm just a z-barb. I don't know everything. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy playing z-barb.